Hello and welcome to How Could We, a podcast by Climate-KIC where we explore the collaboration we need, the lessons we've learned, and the areas where we see the most impact when it comes to climate action. I'm your host, Anne-Sophie Garrigou, and today we're coming to you live from Paris at the Climate Reality Tour. If you're not familiar with the Climate Reality Project, it's a global initiative launched by former US Vice President Al Gore to train people in how to lead in the fight against the climate crisis. The world is changing at an unprecedented pace. We are facing extreme uncertainty, complexity, and volatility, challenging not only our resilience, but also our leadership. In this moment of overlapping crisis, or polycrisis as we often hear, we need leaders who can think systemically, who can collaborate across sectors, and who can connect with people on both an emotional and rational level to drive meaningful change. Today, I'm really excited to be joined by Gosia Riklik, a leader in climate education and engagement with the Climate Reality Project. In this episode, we'll explore what it takes to lead in an era of uncertainty, why education and storytelling are critical tools for climate action, and how we can build the resilience necessary to keep pushing forward. Welcome, Gosia, to How Could We, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Anne-Sophie. I'm really happy to join you, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
So we're going to start by setting the scene a little bit. So Gosia, could you introduce us to the Climate Reality Project and the work you do, and how does it empower individuals to take climate leadership into their own hands?
Climate Reality Project is a global organization founded by Vice President of the US, Al Gore, and he founded this organization in 2006. It started as a means to provide an introduction into the climate crisis. Why are we in it? What are the solutions to it, and what can we do about it? And then it turned into a much broader initiative that was not just for the US citizens, but it became a global initiative. So I think that it's important to have in mind two elements of our work. One is the training sessions. So, for example, the one that we're talking from. So these are big events where we train climate reality leaders in the climate crisis. What led us to it? What are the potential impacts of it, or what are the impacts that we already feel? And then what are the solutions to it? So this is the start. As you could see, we had multiple conversations from different perspectives, looking at different sectors and different actors that can have an impact on stopping climate change. So that's the first element. The next element is the work that we do after the training. So as the European branch and other international branches of Climate Reality, we're engaging our audience, the Climate Reality Leaders Network, in our campaigns. So we have three major campaigns. One is on emissions reduction, the other is on financing a just transition, and the last is on international cooperation for strengthening climate action. So in all these areas, we have multiple calls for action and ways of joining our campaigns and educational activities so that climate reality leaders can take action also after the training itself, and they can become the advocates for climate.
Thank you so much. And I want to talk about leadership in a time of polycrisis, because I think the time we are in now, we cannot forget about what's happening in the outside world and outside of this echo chamber. So we're living in an era, I've said at the beginning, of rapid change and compounding crisis, right? There is a climate breakdown, democratic instability, economic volatility. There is an increase of social injustices and inequality. How does this shape the kind of leadership we need today?
Well, I think it's a valid question, and I think it's something we all try to find an answer to. But I think I would think about it in two ways. One is that, first of all, we need to leave our echo chamber or our bubbles. Here at the Climate Reality Leadership training in Paris, we are a bit of a bubble. But this is the moment for us to energize, to connect with each other, and to really make sure that we have all the necessary knowledge and tools to actually go out and speak to people. And so I think that this is one important element of that. The other is to think about what we actually can do, what we can influence. It might be overwhelming to think about the polycrisis. It seems like we don't have a way to impact something so broad as climate change, a global process. But we truly want to focus on what we can impact. And so that's why we are launching Climate Hubs model, which will help us to take action locally. So to see the tangible results of our work and build on that and create a ripple effect, so that the climate change, the global climate change, is not going to be too overwhelming, because we can take action and we can see it on a local level. So we believe that this is going to be inspiring and will create this ripple effect.
Thank you. And I think what we've seen here over the past 3 days, it's really the power of education, but also communication. Al Gore has been a fantastic climate communicator over the years, and we've seen other people we've just had Camille Etienne, Clover Hogan, who are truly fantastic climate communicator. And that's something that I wanted to talk to you about. Why is climate education so crucial, but how can storytelling and this effective communication help drive the climate leadership we need?
I think what makes them really great communicators is that they speak through stories. You mentioned storytelling. I think it's ingrained in us. It's a very human thing that it's sometimes a bit difficult to think only about the facts. The science is quite technical sometimes. So building that into a story is a much more digestible way for us to process information and to actually understand what's happening around us. So I believe that this is the quality of really great communicators, is that they can use all the facts but build them into a more digestible format, and that's one side of it. But the other is also what I found particularly interesting in speakers like Al Gore and Christiana Figueres, for example. But there's so much of humanity in them. They're so natural, and I think that they can really connect with other people, not just through facts. They can really get down to the very fact that we are all human and we do need to act right away. It's an urgent matter, but at the same time we can't fall into despair. We have to support each other and find the right ways to address this challenge.
And so one of the things that we've been talking also here is resilience and collaboration. So we've talked about the importance of not just individual resilience, but also collective resilience. And Camille Etienne was talking about unlikely collaboration that we need to do also. And those two notions of resilience and collaboration, I think, are crucial right now to accelerate climate action. How do we foster this at a time where many people feel, like you just said, overwhelmed by the scale of the crisis?
I really like the answers of climate reality leaders who were in a conversation with Al Gore. Each of them were mentioning a way for them to stay sane in this world. They might have different ways, and I think that each of us has to find that way. But then the other, which I think is so important, and Christiana Figueres was mentioning it a couple of days ago, is to go to the other side, to really build those unusual partnerships. I have examples from my home country where the unusual allies of miners who are currently facing unemployment are actually joined by climate activists who want to support them in a just transition and phase out of coal. So I think that it's so important to remember about the humanity in us and then really think about the other side, do less of judgment and think about what connects us. I think that's really crucial.
Thank you very much. And we haven't said, but you're from Poland, right? Yes. And indeed, the just transition is crucial, something that we worked on also in Poland with Climate-KIC. So if there is one key takeaway that you like listeners, whether they're policymakers, business leaders, or everyday citizens, to walk away with, what would it be?
I think what I mentioned earlier about the seeing the other side, having the empathy, and just trying to understand what will actually reach that other side. I think that it's really key that we learn how to break the silos, how to get out of our bubbles and speak to people who might have different perspectives than us, and understand what's important to them and what's important for all of us, really, in our humanity. And I think that just focusing on that will really allow us to break the silos and communicate well and really help us land the message of how important this transition is, whatever is relevant to a given audience that we're talking to. I think we always need to remember about that.
Thank you so much. And so we've been doing this podcast for 3 years now, and I ask every single interviewee the same question at the end, which is, what would a beautiful, just and climate resilient future would look like for you?
I think it would definitely bring us closer to nature. I think it's that nature will be present around us, and I think that's what's really important. I think that brings us more to our true nature again, that humanity, which we tend to forget. We focus on the economy, on money, but I think that nature really awakes in us the more primal things about us, which I think are good in nature.
Thank you so much, Gosia, for highlighting the critical role of leadership, communication, education, and for your reflection on reaching out to the other side in navigating today's climate challenge.
Great. Thank you so much for inviting me.
So if this conversation resonated with you, I encourage you to explore the Climate Reality Project and its training programs, because equipping people with the right skills and mindset is a key component of this transition. Thank you all for listening to How Could We? If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with who care about building a just and sustainable future. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode recorded here in Paris. Until then, keep leading, keep learning, keep taking action. We'll leave some links in the show notes, and if you're interested about the Climate-KIC Academy, please register your interest in the form in the show notes. Bye, thank you.